You turn off the television. The room goes quiet. Your shoulders tense before your mind even knows why. That's strange, isn't it? Silence isn't dangerous. No sound is hurting you. And yet something ancient in your body just stood up and started listening. Here's the real answer. Your brain was never built for silence. It was built for noise. Constant, layered, overlapping noise. Insects, wind, footsteps, birds going quiet when a predator moves through the grass. For nearly the entire span of human existence, silence didn't mean peace. Silence meant something had gone wrong. Think about a forest for a moment. A healthy forest is loud. Birdsong, rustling leaves, the low hum of insects moving through the underbrush. That constant noise was information. It told your ancestors that the environment around them was stable, safe enough. Nothing large and hungry was close by. Now imagine the sound cuts out. All at once. No birds, no insects, just stillness. That sudden hush was one of the most reliable warning signs available to early humans. It usually meant a predator had entered the area, and every smaller creature had frozen or fled in response. Silence wasn't neutral. Silence was a signal, and the signal said something is here. A researcher named Daniel Bloomstein, who studies the relationship between sound and fear at UCLA, has spent years documenting this exact pattern. Across many species, sudden drops in ambient noise reliably predict the presence of a threat nearby. Prey animals go quiet together, and the species best at noticing that quiet were the ones more likely to survive. You are one of those species, which means the discomfort you feel in a silent room isn't a glitch. It's an inheritance. Your nervous system is doing exactly what it evolved to do. It's scanning an unusually quiet environment for the reason behind the quiet, because for most of human history, quiet rarely happened without a cause. But here's where it gets stranger. Your brain doesn't just dislike silence, it actively fills it. Ever notice a faint ringing in a completely silent room? Your ear isn't picking up an outside sound. Your auditory system is so unaccustomed to true silence that it starts generating internal noise just to fill the gap. Neuroscientists have found that many parts of the brain remain unusually active during silence, almost as if the mind refuses to accept the absence of stimulation and starts producing signals of its own. You do the same thing on a larger scale. Alone in a quiet house at night, your mind starts supplying sound. A creak becomes a footstep. Silence becomes suspicious. You're not imagining threats out of nowhere. You're running a very old, very effective threat detection program in an environment that no longer needs it. Modern life is unusually loud, almost constantly. Traffic, notifications, conversations, background music in stores that never seem to stop. So when true silence finally arrives, it feels foreign, unfamiliar, and unfamiliar, to a brain built on pattern recognition, often gets flagged as unsafe. That's part of why so many people reach for background noise the moment silence sets in. A podcast while cooking, music while working, the television left on for company, even when nobody's watching it. It isn't only about entertainment. It's a way of keeping the ancient alarm system quiet. And yet, oddly, silence can also do the opposite. It can heal. A study published by researcher Luciano Bernardi looked at what happens physiologically during pauses inserted between pieces of music. The gaps of silence produced more relaxation in listeners than the music itself did, lowering heart rate and easing tension in ways the sound could not. Silence, it turns out, isn't only a warning. Under the right conditions, it can be a reset. There's an even more striking finding. A 2013 study led by neuroscientist Tim Kirst examined the effects of different sound environments on the brains of mice, including periods of complete silence. The silent condition was the only one that led to measurable growth of new cells in the hippocampus, a region tied closely to memory and learning. Noise didn't produce that effect. Music didn't either. Only the absence of sound did. So which is it? Is silence a threat, or is it medicine? The truth is, it's both, and the difference lies entirely in context. Silence in an unfamiliar place at an unexpected moment still trips the old alarm. But silence you choose, silence you expect, silence you sit inside of on purpose, works almost like a nervous system exhale. The threat response only fires when the quiet feels involuntary. This might explain something you've probably felt without naming it. Meditation retreats are often held in near total silence, and almost everyone struggles with it at first. The mind resists. It searches for something to listen to. But people who push through that early discomfort often describe a shift, a point where the silence stops feeling like a void and starts feeling like space. The alarm system quiets down once it learns, again and again, that nothing dangerous is coming. Compare that to walking into a house that should be full of noise and finding it silent instead. A classroom that's gone completely still. An office where the usual hum of conversation has suddenly stopped. In these cases, your body reacts instantly, heart rate climbing, senses sharpening, because the silence is breaking a pattern rather than fitting one. It comes down to expectation. Predicted silence can calm you. Unpredicted silence can alarm you. Your ancestors needed both responses to survive, so both got wired in, sitting side by side in the same nervous system, waiting to see which situation they're dealing with. There's something else worth noticing. Silence between two people rarely feels neutral either. Sit across from someone in conversation and let the talking stop. Watch how quickly the urge to fill that space arrives. Silence in a social setting can register almost like a small threat, a signal that something has gone unresolved, that connection has been interrupted. That instinct likely traces back to the same root. In small ancestral groups, ongoing communication, even quiet murmuring, signaled cohesion and safety within the group. A sudden silence between people could mean tension, conflict, or exclusion, all of which mattered enormously for survival in a species that depended entirely on cooperation. So the next time silence makes you uneasy, you're not overreacting. You're running code written by thousands of generations who needed to notice when the world went quiet for a reason. And the next time silence makes you calm, you're accessing something just as old. A version of stillness your ancestors also knew, the kind that came after the danger passed, when the birds started singing again and the body finally understood it could rest. You turn off the television again, weeks later. The room goes quiet, but this time you don't tense. You just listen.